So finally, I get to talk about Kingdom Hearts 2, pretty much everyone's favorite KH game, like ever. And I could totally see why you'd think that way, because yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a great damn game. Like that game was like far ahead of its time. Like it came out around it came out in Japan around 20. I want to say 20. My bad. It came out in Japan around 2005, and to this day, it's one of the better games like ever made from that time. It's still one of the greatest games today. And it was a really good game. It was far ahead of its time. And it's pretty much an experience that's never been, remade. The closest attempt we have to capturing the same experience as Kingdom Hearts 2 is 3. But it doesn't, really capture and hit the same beats as that game, though they're trying. They've been patching stuff in. They even patched some abilities from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix into the game, so to make it feel more like KH2. And I hope they fix them. I hope they keep patching the game, putting more stuff into it. Kingdom Hearts 3, so I hope they get close enough to it. I don't want an exact clone of KH2 with 3. I just want an evolution of 2. But I'm not talking about 3 right now. Let's talk about 2. So Kingdom Hearts 2 is a game I really had my eyes on a lot when I was younger. As I said before, like so many times, I didn't have a PS2 back then, and all I could do was Kingdom Hearts 2 wise is watch stuff on YouTube, and I was like, thought it was the coolest game ever because so far, all I had was the handheld games, and all I did was watch the story cutscenes off YouTube and, try to, learn more about the games. And once I managed to get a hold of Kingdom Hearts 2, and I was like, I wonder where everybody, rates this game highly. And I was like, and once I started playing it, it was an experience. It really was. Like, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a damn good game. Like, from the story to the characters to the actual music, gameplay, which is like, people's favorite part of KH2 is the gameplay itself. But I will talk about gameplay in a minute. I'm going to talk about the story. And I would say KH2 has probably the most satisfying ending to a KH game ever. Because, usually you have like the Kingdom Hearts games. You got one where Sora has to go off and find his friends again. Where Rechain, Sora had to, be put to sleep in order to, get his memories back, and Riku's, walking the world to dawn. Even games after that, KH2 still has a more satisfying ending than them because with 358, you still, Sora, maybe not Sora, my bad. Roxas, Shion, and Axel lost each other. Bad things happened. Birth by Sleep, the friends got separated. Terra, Aqua, and Ven, Recoded, really didn't matter because all it did was pretty much set up that, okay, it was a fake Sora, and it set up that Master Xehanort was coming back. Dream of This is it showed that, the organization is coming back, so Sora has to, do an epic showdown in Kingdom Hearts 3. And Kingdom Hearts 3 has its own, controversial ending aside. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is like the only Kingdom Hearts game I could say that actually had a good, satisfying ending that would please everyone. Because it was just, branching off from 1, then Rechain all the way to 2. And the story ended nice, everybody's got back together again. Sora met Sora got together with Riku and Kairi again, and it felt satisfying. And even ending aside, the story itself felt like it was leading somewhere. Once you hit you start off in the worlds, the organization comes in, Sora starts mocking them, and they start mocking Sora. Sora just snaps back, which is funny to me. And it just felt like the story was more concise, even though it had set up for games like Birth by Sleep. It was all packed together in one big story that kind of led from 1 to 1 Rechain and 2, but it still has some stuff that led into other, into Birth by Sleep and 358. They were going to spin off Roxas' story at 358 and also set the groundwork for Birth by Sleep with, the secret movie, Xemnas had Aqua's armor, small stuff like that. And it was a different time back then because normal people just make guesses like, oh, what's with this armor? Why is Xemnas talking to this random armor? Or, why is Roxas so important? What's Roxas' big deal or stuff like that? You knew it was going to lead to something else. And back then it was just it was more magical back then with the game led and other stuff. Now, back then the story wasn't, all over the place. It has moments, but the story was more packed together. And why not complain about Kingdom Hearts story because its story is a big draw in for me. it's because of how crazy it's gotten that's made me a fan. But back then, everything was a lot more simpler, and even though it got a little crazy during, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 2 is pretty much where it started, It started to develop into that, setting up stuff for later stories and making it more like, out there and convoluted than it needed to be. Now, people, but it wasn't a bad thing, There really isn't much to be say on the story, because the story itself is like actually pretty easy to just talk about. I guess much to say like I did with Rechain or Kingdom Hearts 1. But with the story with Kingdom Hearts 2, it pretty much was like, how 1 started, but with a bigger twist, with the organization now. So I had to deal with that. Going to the Disney worlds, having to deal with their plans, seeing Riku pretty much, occasionally, why Riku didn't want to, he didn't want to meet with Riku again. Like, Riku didn't want to meet with his friends again, And I would say that Kingdom Hearts 2 had really big stakes, Sora had to defeat the organization, for all the worlds pretty much just collapsed, Xemnas was actually really, despite what little we knew about Xemnas back then, but Xemnas was like enough of a character. Like, you didn't know really much about Ansem because you didn't know crap about Ansem back then, but he was an imposing villain. And I feel like Xemnas was that way too. You didn't really know, you knew more about Ansem through Xemnas because, they came from Terra Xehanort, and he split himself into Ansem, and he split himself into Xemnas. And like, it in a way, it kind of made Kingdom Hearts 1 kind of point, like, it's not pointless, but like, Ansem, like, oh, you had to stop Ansem because, Sora's like, oh, we did all that for nothing, but like, no, you still had to stop Ansem, though. He was still a bad guy. You still had to put an end to him because, yeah, he was going to plunge the world in darkness if you didn't stop him anyway. And Xemnas was a different story because, like, Xemnas was like more like this, he still felt like Ansem, but the stakes were higher, like, now Sora got his whole band together, he got his whole friends, he's in this big ass castle, imposing and crap like that. Okay, it's like, it's different when Sora just made it back to Destiny Islands and see Ansem there, but this is different. Like, he's in a big castle full of other nobodies. The whole thing is being filled with Heartless. It's like and the world it never was a really cool world. It still is to this day. It's a really cool world. Like, you're in a big city. Like, I'm pretty much a city that has lights on, but you never see anyone around. And, like, you get this big castle off in the distance that, like, it's imposing, Like, for all we don't even know who exactly lives at the world that never was, Like, if anyone even lives there besides the organization. We don't know, like, if the buildings are there just for the hell of it. We don't know anything about that. We don't know anything about that. But I like the world. It's imposing. Like, it's like, every time you go there, it's just like something, like, automatically bad, something sets in. And with the story leading up to that point, I felt like Kingdom Hearts 2 got into a more darker approach. The series just felt darker in tone, than anything else that far. Even Kingdom Hearts Rechain itself is kind of a dark story in a way. Sora's just pretty much losing his memories and things that happen around him that he can't even comprehend at this point. Kingdom Hearts 2 felt darker in tone because things felt way more serious than they ever had. Like, they felt like a lot more serious, and even the lighthearted parts of Disney kind of like toned down a bit. Like, they were there, and there were some good moments in there, but like, it felt like it was more toned down to make the story more serious. You even got Roxas' part, which is pretty much a guy he didn't even want to like he just pretty much found out that his whole life was pretty much a simulation. All his friends were fake. He didn't even, he was Sora. He was Sora's nobody, and Roxas' whole part alone had mixed opinions from fans. Some people say, oh, well, I don't like the opening, the Kingdom Hearts 2 because of Roxas' parts and stuff like that. They were like that. But it was refreshing to see, the story in someone else's shoes and how they dealt with it. Because, like, Roxas' parts felt so disconnected from Kingdom Hearts 2 at the beginning. You're wondering, where's Sora? Where's Donald and Goofy? What's with this kid Roxas? And even though Roxas didn't have that many abilities and stuff attached to him, it was like the mystery of who he was and why all this happened to him was the biggest thing. and Kingdom Hearts 2 really did well on that. You know, you start to think, okay, who are these Black Cloak figures? We know them from Rechain. Axel came back from Rechain. He had a relationship with Roxas. Then all the stuff started set into place why Axel even did some of the stuff in the Castle Oblivion in the first place. You know, Roxas was part of the organization at one point, and then we started getting cutscenes of that, and him and Riku, for whatever reason. Riku's like, oh, why is Riku wearing an organization cloak? Why does he look like Ansem? It was the mystery of Kingdom Hearts 2 that, you know, was really good. Like, some of the Kingdom Hearts 2 games, like, sorry, Kingdom Hearts 2 games, but like, some of the Kingdom Hearts games don't really handle mystery like that anymore. But the whole game was just set in mystery, and, like, you really had to discover, like, oh, man, they were a part of this, or all this happening. Like, it was a different time. And that's what made the story good. Like, it was just, like, all the mystery and build-up that led up to the climax. It was great. And, like, you know, Sora being back with his friends. So I will say this, Sora having, like, that big-ass reaction to meeting Riku again, and what his reaction to meeting Kairi was just, like, so different. Like, he was so, like, it's like, oh, Riku, I can't believe you're back, Riku. It was weird because, like, he had a bigger reaction to seeing Riku again rather than Kairi, and I was like, oh, wow, that's like your girlfriend. That's like your kind of girlfriend, dude. I get it, but And, you know, even organization members, like, because they weren't the same ones from, you know, Rechain, because you know, the ones of Rechain were dead. But the organization members did make a good impact. Like, you didn't really know much about them, though. That's the thing. You didn't see much about them, but you didn't, like, at that point, you didn't need to know that much about them to actually, you know, get a good understanding. Like, you already understood that Sykes was pretty much the second in command to Xemnas. You know, he was pretty much handling the stuff on the outside while Xemnas stood in the castle and planned his big ass, you know, gather all the hearts of Kingdom Hearts. You can understand Zigbar was like this surfer dude with a laid back attitude in a way. You know, some of the characters actually, you know, they felt more. In a way, they had like kind of like less. I wouldn't say less personality, but they made less of an impact, like in Rechain. Because like once you get in, like, well, mainly Axel and Larxene, you understood them for like a mile. And Vexen, you understood them from a mile away. But since they were dead, you know, yeah, they were characters like Vexen, Xemnas, Syx, Luxord, Zigbar, etc., etc. And you know, it was weird. Like, Sora had to kill the first half of the organization. Well, Sora and Riku had to kill the first half of the organization in Rechain, and had to kill the rest of them in Kingdom Hearts 2. And what made me laugh is that some people didn't even play Rechain or Chain of Memories in the first place, so they kind of jumped from 1 to 2. So there's that. But yeah, I really did like the story. It was more I wanted to say. Kairi getting her Keyblade from Riku, like, still kind of weirds me out. Like, I'm wondering how Riku even got a second Keyblade to begin with. You know, okay, Riku's way to the Soul Eater turning into Way to the Dawn, I can understand, but it's the sole fact that, like, the sole fact that he, what I want to say, the sole fact that he, pretty much had a second Keyblade on hand, which is weird. Like, if Kairi developed her own Keyblade, that I could understand, but the fact that, like, Riku just had a random Keyblade, just gave it to Kairi, it's so weird. Like, I don't even understand why that scene even came about. Like, I know that, okay, she can use a Keyblade, fine, fair enough. That I can accept. Because back then there was no rules set in place about, well, not really any concrete rules set in place to how you can use a Keyblade. You know, all you need is a strong heart. And yeah, Sora, Riku, and Kairi could have strong hearts to use Keyblades. I could accept that back then. But like, where did Riku get a second Keyblade from to even give to Kairi? Like, if Kairi just developed a Keyblade after getting attacked by shadows and protected herself, yeah, I could accept that more. It'd be an ass pull, but I could accept that more. But like, Riku just handing Kairi a random Keyblade out of nowhere is something it still bothers me to this day. It really does, but it's old. It's old. There's no point in worrying about it. But other than that, like, there's more things I wanted to talk about Kingdom Hearts 2. But like, the story is kind of hard to talk about because, like, you know, it's more light in the gameplay section and not leading into the story. So we can talk about the gameplay now. The gameplay is one of the highlights of Kingdom Hearts 2. That's pretty much people's favorite Kingdom Hearts game, and I can't blame them why. Kingdom Hearts 2 had really great combat. It still does. Even in this day of video games, the game still is solid. Like, you can play Kingdom Hearts 2 and not feel the age set in and not realize the game came from 2005. You know, that game is like, at this recording, is 15 years old. Almost 15 years old. And even to this day, the game still feels good to play. You know, when you got Kingdom Hearts 1, which is A little dated, I will say. Kingdom Hearts 2 never gets old. That's the thing about that game. That game never gets old. Like, everything is balanced in a way where nothing's really broken. You know, it was fun. It's a fun game, really. Like, I don't even like that's a timeless game. It doesn't matter how things far in the future the game gets. Like, Kingdom Hearts 2 will always still be playable in some capacity because the game is just that damn good. Even with Final Mix, they added a lot of stuff. You know, they added limit form. They added all the extra stuff. More combat options. You know, they added this. They added like Kingdom Hearts 2 is a complete package. Like, not hampered by DLC. You know, it was like Final Mix. If Final Mix came like was the original KH2 release, it'd be a different story. But when 1.5, like, well, not technically 2.5 came out, like, Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix feels like a complete package, you know? You know, if you want to count, like, the whole Cavern of Remembrance and all the extra ability stuff as DLC, which technically, you know, Kingdom Hearts 2 did Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, because Final Mix was just an expansion on it. You know, well, not expansion, but, like, the complete package. Yeah, it was good. The game has so much content in it. Like, really. You got, you know, all the stuff to find. You got, like, a bunch of items to find. You got a bunch of good Keyblades together. You got the data battles, which are something special in and of itself. You can go to the Cavern of Remembrance to get to there, which is a whole new level. You got a bunch of bosses to fight. Like, just with Kingdom Hearts 2 alone, you have a lot of stuff to do. Like, really, like, that game itself is so packed with stuff. Like, no other Kingdom Hearts game matches that in content. Because as I said before, you get, like, you know, a bunch of good levels to go around too, especially with the Disney worlds. Disney worlds is something I do want to talk about, but I'm gonna get to that after I'm done talking about the content. Like, the Disney worlds, if the game get the Cavern of Remembrance with the extra world, data battles, as I said before, there's like 13 unique battles. You know, even when past organization members, including the ones you fight in the main story. You know, you get the ultimate weapon to get a bunch of Keyblades, you know, items to find. Sephiroth, which, you know, is much better than his Kingdom Hearts 1 counterpart. Like, fighting Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 1 is really, really lame. But fighting in Kingdom Hearts 2 is a real test of your patience and endurance. It's crazy. The final bosses are great. Final Xemnas is one of the coolest ideas for a bosses ever. You literally fight him in the city, right? You originally fight him first in Memory Skyscraper, which is already a cool cinematic thing. You guys are running up the buildings, you got to clash with each other. You know, it was back then when, like, around that age, with 2005, where everything was like big on all big cinematic, quick time events, stuff like that. Kingdom Hearts 2 never really shows its age in that department because he's still cool to this day. Then you fight Xemnas again, you run through the freaking city where he's trying to summon buildings to get at you, throwing buildings at you, flying around the goddamn nobody dragon. Then you go into the dragon and you see that Xemnas is actually sitting on a throne room in some armor, like some cool ass armor, and you gotta fight him. And then it's not even over yet because you still gotta fight Final Xemnas because you gotta literally flying through the above. Like, you're pretty much flying almost in space. Like, you're flying above the city, but it looks like some kind of weird space void. And you gotta, like, fly through that. He's still chucking buildings at you. You gotta knock buildings back at him to break his shield and then still attack him on the throne. And they're not even done. You didn't, because you gotta fight him inside the whatever, I forgot that world's name. Like that gray world you fight Final Xemnas in. I know it's something, but I can't remember. I think it's inside Kingdom Hearts, but I might be wrong. It's been a while. And you still gotta fight Final Xemnas, which, you know, Zebra Xemnas. Zebra Xemnas, you gotta fight him back, and, like, it's pretty much the end. Like, Xemnas is like a final battle that really amped up what you could do with Kingdom Hearts, you know? And that boss, like, that has never been replicated in the series ever since. Like, I have never felt a boss, like a final boss in any KH game with that kind of scale, you know? There was no boss in KH that had never had that kind of scale, ever. You know, you got one where, you know, you go back to Edith Sialis, you fight Ansem, then you fight Ansem again, then you fight Ansem a third time in World of Chaos. You know, then you got to fight Marluxia, you know. But the amount of times you actually fight Xemnas and the escalation of it is really cool. And then on top of that, you fight with Don Goofy, you fight with Riku, like the final boss, literally you team up with Riku, which is something people want. So it's like you team up with Riku and fight back the boss. It's cool. And it's my favorite final boss in Kingdom Hearts, period. because of how big of a spectacle it is, you know? Like, it pretty much is a big, big disconnect from the whole game. You know, happy Disney characters, but like, this big ass nobody dragon in space. Like, what? And that's not even talking about the gameplay. The gameplay is actually pretty snappy and fast, dude. You get like pretty much different forms Sora can go into, you know, depending on like, you know, you got Valor, which is pure attack, but you can't heal yourself. You got Wisdom, which is pure magic, but you can't really, you know, stand still and attack. You got like shoot from a distance. You got Master Form, which is pretty much like both at once. You got Final Form, which is you know, like a combination of all those abilities at once. But like, you know, it's like the best ability, but it drains like the drive gauge so fast. Like it's one like that. It's like that true Final Form, but you can't like use it too much because it's God mode at that point. And you also got two other forms. You get Limit Form, which Limit Form is a great form, and I'm glad it's in the game. Really, I'm glad it's in the game. Mainly because Limit Form is great for just you, because some Limit Form helps me out in so many battles. You know, Axel's fight pretty much is unplayable to me without Limit Form. Like, you know, Axel's data fight, you know, when the floor is lava and you pretty much got to keep yourself alive before your HP drains. Like, without Sonic Blade in that fight, it's like so damn hard to play through. And then you got like Anti-Form, which is pretty much the form that comes out if you abuse the other forms too much, which is actually a good penalty. People don't like Anti-Form, and I don't like Anti-Form either, because sometimes they come out at the most inopportune times. Like when I try to fight, like an organization, like data fight, it just comes out, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, I gotta reset the fight. There's no way that I'm gonna survive long enough against this guy in Anti-Form. And I get why it's a penalty, but it's just so annoying to deal with. Like when you're trying to like get into the fight, you're doing well, and you want to go into a form and like finish off the enemy, and then you bump into anti. Like it's the worst feeling in the world. And you know, you gotta constantly reset the bar by actually going out and doing Final Form over and over again. It's annoying. Like I don't like Anti-Form all that much, and I get why it's a penalty, but like it's just the moment it pops up, it sucks. And I would say my one main gripe with the gameplay is the sole fact that your abilities are attached to your forms. Like you can't get dodge roll without leveling up your forms. You can't get high jump. You can't get glide. You can't get quick run. Like you gotta like level up your forms. And while I get why they want you to do that, it's just like a big grind you gotta go do. Now you can't do most of it before the end of the game. Hell, you can get Final Form before you even beat Xemnas, even though the game doesn't tell you that. You know, like you gotta get the two become for Final Form. You gotta get the two become one Keyblade and get lucky with the transformation. You either go anti or you go Final Form, and that's how you unlock the forms. Like, but that's one thing nobody tells you about. You know, no one tells you that at all. Like, it's pretty much a guess. Like, who is going to know that? You know, like someone's randomly going to equip the Keyblade. Like, oh no, I'm Final Form now. It's weird how you unlock that ability. I wish there was like a more concrete way of telling you, oh, if you use this Keyblade, you'll gain a new form or something like that. But as I said before, I don't like the abilities attached to being forms. I mean, I get why, so they want you to use the forms to level it up, but the sole fact you have to like go find specific enemies and specifically level up the abilities that way. Like with Final Form, you gotta kill nothing but nobodies. With Master Form, you gotta go get Drive Orbs, which the Drive Orbs thing is actually super easy. You can actually manipulate some nobodies in the Mysterious Tower in order to level that up. You just gotta play that mini game with the Gambler nobodies over and over again. With Valor Form, you gotta constantly just hit. For every hit, you gain 1 XP. And with Wisdom, you gotta constantly kill Heartless, my bad. And with Limit Form, you gotta constantly just use the special abilities. For every hit you get off of those, you get 1 EXP. And I get their purpose, but it just sucks that the abilities are tied to it, though. You know, you can go the whole game without getting those abilities, and some of those abilities are rather helpful, because like Dodge Roll is a very helpful ability in case you want to dodge attack real quick. A Quick Run, it's not that useful of an ability, but it can get you out of the way really quick. But having high jump attached to one of your things is not fun at all, because you're like having it attached to your abilities. That kind of sucks. But I can get it, but it just sucks that it's attached to it. But other than that, the gameplay is solid, dude. Like hits feel so satisfying. Sora's more grounded than he's ever been. Well, he was a lot heavier in Kingdom Hearts 1, but he's like your reactions with your abilities are actually pretty damn quick in KH. like KH2. Like the difference between playing as Roxas and playing as Sora is astronomically high. Like it's crazy, and it feels satisfying to play the game. Like that's why everybody's rave over Kingdom Hearts 2 so much, because the game plays that damn well. And 15 years later, it's still one of the best action games out there. It's ridiculous. Like there's like no broken abilities in the game. For me personally, there's like no broken abilities in that game. Like every ability feels pretty balanced. And even when you go into different forms, the ability kind of changes. Like if you're playing as like using regular thunder, and like using regular thunder, like, you know, you're just in front of the enemy, striking them down. But when you go in like wisdom form, or you go final master, your thunder goes like more, it spreads out, you know, kind of like attack everywhere instead of the limit range you got when you're in thunder base form. And then your magic combos can combo you into regular attacks. Like if you use thunder and it knocks an enemy up in the air, you can literally jump after that enemy and attack them. Like it was one of the coolest things that have your moves pretty much combo all into one another. You know, was as a snap of the wrist, just like combo. And Reflect was a great ability, man. Like I miss Reflect so much in other Kingdom Hearts games. Like you get barriers in KH, Birthright Sleep, but Reflect was so good. Like it really, really helped. Like I barely used block half the time because of Reflect. It was oof. I mean, granted, you still need block for some fights. Like you can't rely on barrier all the time. I mean, we can't rely on Reflect all the time because it's attached to your magic. And magic's also been changed a bit, where your cure, if you use cure, it will take up your entire magic bar. And I kind of like that change, mainly because it makes you think more. It's like, oh, you can use all this magic, and then when you get to that little sliver of MP bar, you gotta like hold that on for a cure in case you get into it. And I like that. Sometimes you need to use a cure out of a pinch, and you're stuck waiting for the thing to reload, you know, until you have to think more on your toes, because like you can't just spam cure like you used to. You only get one shot at this while the thing reloads itself. I like that change. I don't know. I'm like it penalizes you, but it doesn't make it unreasonable. Like if you use cure once in one battle and just goes away completely, that would suck. Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 has a good ass gameplay, man. The abilities are great. The forms are cool. Like the possibilities are endless. And then you got like the worlds. I didn't get to talk much about the worlds itself, though. I really didn't. I wouldn't say Kingdom Hearts 2 doesn't really have my favorite worlds per se. It has a lot of variety, though. It has like it has like a bunch of worlds to go through, like more than any other Kingdom Hearts game. And on top of the fact you visit them twice, all of them twice. Well, except you don't visit all of them twice. Like Atlantica, you visit like multiple times. But it just makes the game feel a lot longer, and I like that because you don't have to visit. You don't just visit the world just once. You visit it multiple times. I do like the changes, like the Halloween Town, like just Christmas Town, which I like Christmas Town. I like Christmas stuff. But I wouldn't say the worlds are my favorite though. Like some of them are like pretty much just big open areas, and you know I get why they're big open, so Sora has more room to like whack on enemies, but it doesn't leave them to be my favorite. Although I will say that Agrabah's like Cave of Wonders. I like Agrabah's Cave of Wonders now mainly because of the way it looks. Like it looks kind of cool now. Like it's that big ass open area. Like the areas are so freaking huge, but you can't really do much with them. Like you can't let's say Dream Drop Distance. The areas are big, but you can't really do much other than just like whatever. Like there's a big ass area in Hollow Bastion that has no right being that big. Like the place inside like the laboratory, just that big open area, it has no reason being that big. Now you could say it's just backdrop, but I've seen people mess with it, and it's like that area that's that open and big. I'm like, that doesn't need to be that big. You ain't even want to go over there. But the world variety in KH2 is huge, man. You get places like Tron, go Agrabah again, Halloween Town, freaking. There's so many worlds, like Olympus Coliseum again. Like you get so much variety in the game. Like there's a lot of worlds in that game. Pride Lands, where Sora becomes like literally a lion, and Pride Lands isn't my favorite, mostly because like kind of limited on some stuff, but it's unique enough that I say, yeah, it's good. You gotta go back to Winnie the Pooh again, which the mini games are there I actually can tolerate. Other Kingdom Hearts games are like, oh, I gotta do these mini games again, but Winnie the Pooh, KH2 Winnie the Pooh World, I kind of like. You got Atlantica, which this may be controversial, but I like it a lot better than KH1's Atlantica. Like it's a mini game world, all you go there, and you just play music. And the music is cringe as hell, but it's not annoying like KH1's or pointless like KH Rechain. Like 2's Atlantica is a lot more manageable. I mean, I know it's just a minigame world, and I could deal with that. I could play the music. It's super simple, but I do not like the fact that you can't pause in the middle of it. Because like, it's some weird thing that if you pause while you're playing it, you have to restart. You can't unpause it. That is terrible. I don't know why that's a thing, but you cannot pause while you're doing one of those minigames. If you pause, you can't unpause it, which means you have to retry it again, which sucks. I don't know why it's a thing, but it pisses me off so greatly. But other than that, Atlantica's like world's more manageable. I can deal with the mini games. Like I don't like when I'm trying to do like the quick time like button reactions for like the button prompts to do the music. I can accept that. I don't have to play through the whole level, so that's good. I don't have to play through it like I'm just swimming around trying to do like I did in Kingdom Hearts 1 because that was terrible. You don't have to do much in Atlantica. Like you can literally skip that world entirely and not even care. But with KH1, you're forced to go through it. Rechain, you're forced to go through it. But in 2, you can ignore it if you want. And I like that change. I really do like that. You ain't have to go through it. But I do it mainly because I want the Keyblade. But the worlds are great. I will say this. There's a good variety of them. There's a lot of worlds in this game. You can get like worlds like, the first appearance of Radiant Garden. It was Hollow Bastion, but its original name was Radiant Garden, which we saw more in Birth by Sleep. You got Twilight Town, which you didn't really see much of it until like you didn't see much of it in Rechain, but like it was just like there, and then the real significance of why Twilight Town even became a thing in Rechain, and I like that because because Roxas live here. That's why Sora made it there. Like it was set up for this, and yeah, it was pretty good. I liked all the worlds. I really did. It's just like, they're so like freaking huge. There's not much to do with them. But I can't say there's nothing to do with them. Just like you got a good amount of stuff to do. You got a bunch of mini games. You got to fight the Mushroom 13. You even got like battles where you get to fight the organization, like the past members of the organization. You get to fight them. Though they are not, like, by the time you get to those worlds, they are not easy to take down. You get like level up a bit and come back. Like the what were they called? They're like in their little portal forms. I can't remember the names they gave. Absent Silhouettes. That's what they're called. They're the Absent Silhouette boss battles. And I like that. Like it's like you get a taste of what they are before you actually get into the real meat of the data fights and fight them. So that's cool. It gives you more boss battles to work with. But as for the worlds, I like the fact that there's so many worlds and people have been clamoring, oh, dude, we need more worlds like we did in KH2. And I wish we did. But, I'm not tripping. It just depends on how you handle the world. And the fact that you actually get to go all those worlds again twice is so great. I already talked about the world that never was. I already talked about Twilight Town. Though I wish Traverse Town came back, but I get why it's not there. Because all the Final Fantasy characters are now in Hollow Bastion. There's no reason to go back to Traverse. So I get why. But yeah, I like the worlds. Hollow Bastion is like more imposing this time now. It's become Radiant Garden because you actually get to explore more of the place. Like you get to explore like the more of the place like outside of the castle part. And I like that. But other than that, yeah. That's pretty much the worlds in a nutshell. They're fine. They're not my favorite, but they're fine. What else I gotta talk about? I can't say music again because Yoko kills it, knocks it out of the park. She always knocks it out of the park. I can't really say that much about that. All I can say is Kingdom Hearts 2 was a really solid game. Like, there's nothing much for me to say about it. If I were to have one thing to say bad about it, I did say before that having your abilities attached to your forms is still not my favorite, but it's manageable. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's a Atlantica's pause thing where you can't even you're forced to restart if you pause it. But that's not really going to happen all that often for people. But it's going to be like a rude awakening if they actually did pause the middle of the mini game. So there's that. There's not much of me to say on Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 was just a really solid game. Like Normally, I will say other Kingdom Hearts games I have negative bunch of things to say about it, but no, there's not really much to say about Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, the game is actually pretty solid. Like, really, like, I have nothing much to say about it. There's a lot of content in the game. Like, I would say one of my main gripes is Mushroom 13. Some of their fights are actually kind of unfair. Like, Mushroom 13 is like, it's a cool idea, but it's like the most frustrating thing I ever dealt with in Kingdom Hearts. Like, there's like the one in Twilight Town where you get to, like, shoot it on certain parts and you gotta get lucky that you're forced to use limit form. No, not limit form, my bad. Wisdom form, and go fly around and, like, shoot at them. Like, it's... Some of these Mushroom 13 battles are, like, actually kind of unfair. I mean, I get they're trying to teach you, like they're pretty much saying, oh, if you master the mechanics of this form or this move, you can use it to beat this mushroom. But there's 13 of them, and they're not all easy to beat, man. Like they require specific ways to beat them, and well, that's not a bad thing. It's, like, super annoying to do. So annoying. Like, it's really, really annoying, and I hate doing Mushroom 13, man. I hate doing Mushroom 13. Like I did it, like, I remember doing it back, like, when 2.5 was out, and I managed to finish all the Mushroom battles. But now that I got 1.5 and 2.5, like that PS4 version, I'm too lazy to do it, man. It took me a week plus to even do all those straight. It was so annoying. Like, the battle in Agrabah is super easy. All you gotta do is, like, juggle it, but it's aggravating. Especially specific ones that are aggravating, especially the one in Twilight Town. That one is, like, so stupidly unfair, man. You got a very tight window of opportunity to beat it. Really unfair. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Mushroom 13 battles. I like their idea, and I like the ideas they put out there, but fighting them is not actually fun, at least for me. But yeah, that's pretty much everything of Kingdom Hearts 2 in a nutshell. I honestly have not much to say. I already talked much about the story. I already talked about the gameplay, the music. I kind of skimmed over the music because, yeah. But I did like how Kingdom Hearts 2 pretty much came full circle from leading up to everything from 1 and Chain of Memories, while setting up events later down the line. And I do like that. And I guess my next video will be, like, 358, so there's that. I still got 358 to do. But other than that, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with Kingdom Hearts 2 right now. Yeah, that's all I have to say, because there's not much I can say about Kingdom Hearts 2, like, that hasn't been said already. Like, Kingdom Hearts 2 is just a really damn good game. It really is. Like, 15 years later, it's still one of the best games ever. Not gonna lie about that. Like, and I really hope Kingdom Hearts 4 kind of captures more of the spirit of Kingdom Hearts 2. 3 kind of did, but, different team, different people, I'm not going to trip about that because that was years ago, so, But I hope that, we get more Kingdom Hearts 2 like games. Kingdom Hearts 2 is just good. That's why everybody kids like to say that's their best favorite Kingdom Hearts game ever. And I get why. The gameplay is so solid. The story is great. The characters are great. Like, it's a different experience from everything that came afterwards or came before it, Kingdom Hearts 2 is in a game in a league of its own, It just feels so good compared to the other games. And I'm not saying the other games are bad. I love Kingdom Hearts to death, and I will defend all the games till I die. But even then, I can see little problems with 2. It's all Kingdom Hearts, all these games have flaws. I will say that every game, but 2 has so little of them. The gameplay was just this gameplay and the story and everything else was so damn solid. It's just like, why even? Like, even the world variety was really good. You even get, like, places like Timeless River, and that world is just based off, like, an old Disney cartoons, and I like that. That was one of the most unique worlds I've ever seen in Kingdom Hearts, other than, like, Symphony of Sorcery. And it's unique as hell because, like, you're transporting Sora, Donald, and Goofy back into, like, the freaking 30 to 40s times of Disney, and it's so cool. Even the music, it's like everything's black and white. The music has been muffled to sound old. Like, that's so cool. And I wish, like, Kingdom Hearts thought more out of the box like that. I really wish they did, because that's a cool idea. I don't know what else they could do other than making Sora like a flat character walking around on a 2D space, but they kind of did that and recoded wait, Sora's like doing side scrolling levels, and I kind of count that, but at the same time, I kind of don't. Uh, but yeah, like I like the Timeless River though. I like the Timeless River. I don't go there all that much, other than like grinding for like wisdom form. But the idea of the world was so cool. And you say Pride Lands because Sora was turned into a freaking lion cub. So I will say that world idea was unique too. But like Timeless River is actually really unique. Who would have ever thought, oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts would go back then with like the 30s, 40s of Disney. Who would ever thought that? But that shows the history of Disney in Kingdom Hearts, and I like it. Like Disney felt really unique and important in Kingdom Hearts 2. I like it. But other than that, I think that's the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 is a great game. I will say that. But even after you're done playing it, you still got experiments with like, data battles. You can collect items, still grind for trophies. The Gummy Ship, which is, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the Gummy Ship. The Gummy Ship has been revamped. It's a lot faster. And I'm not going to lie, I pretty much cheesed the whole Gummy Ship thing by making a big square Gummy Ship and not taking hits. Like, it's not that I hate the Gummy Ship levels in Kingdom Hearts 2 at all. I like how fast they are. Sometimes they go on a little bit longer than they need to, though. I'm not gonna lie. But they're all unique in a way. Like all of them are unique. All of them keeps you on your toes. Though I never actually built a Gummy Ship. I just make a big square one so I won't take damage. I do that every time I get an opportunity to, so I can just like blow past the Gummy Ship parts and play the game. But at least it's better than Kingdom Hearts 1's. I'll give it that much. Like there's been no Gummy Ship levels that say, oh yeah, I really want to play this game over and over again. But at least Kingdom Hearts 2's making it more tolerable than 1's. I can actually handle it this time, not like be all like, ugh, I gotta do this again, ugh. But yeah, KH2's Gummy Ship, it's fine. I can't believe I skipped that though. I almost forgot about that. I didn't even talk about the boss battles either. Like I told myself I was gonna stop talking, but like I forgot about the boss battles too. Like with like God, what's the name? Some of the boss battles are actually pretty damn good in scale though. Like you get stuff like the freaking Ground Shaker, which is literally one of the biggest bosses in the game, and you're pretty much running around as Lion Cup Sword trying to dodge all his hits. Now the boss itself is pretty easy. You're pretty much on rails with the whole quick time event stuff, but it's the sole fact that its scale is so big and like the epicness of it all, like it's crazy. Like, and it's because of the reaction commands. Well, sometimes of it. Sometimes because of the reaction commands, like it's just because of the makes the battle bigger. The battles seem more epic in scale than they ever did before. Like as I said before, this game came out around a time where all that action stuff was becoming a mainstay, and it kind of affected itself on Kingdom Hearts 2. And reaction commands was actually pretty. People's like, oh, you press triangle to win, but I find just the spectacle makes it more than that. It makes the battles more memorable that way than just whacking, someone in the head with a key. The quick time events actually make the battle seem more cinematic, and I like that. I like cinematics. I mean, I like cinematics where it just like takes up the whole gameplay, but it's balanced in a way where it's just like you can see like it's a reward for doing so well in battle. You see like a cool thing like, oh, you press triangle, you freaking do this epic combo, shoot some stuff at an enemy. It's cool. It's really cool. And I really like that with the route. I kind of wish they kept that whole QTE thing in like other Kingdom Hearts games. Like 3 would have benefited a lot greatly for that, because that would have been epic as hell. But Kingdom Hearts 2 just had this magic with it. Even with the bosses. Like Jafar, you could actually, like my main complaint in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Rechain is that Jafar sucked. You didn't even fight Jafar, you fought Iago. Now you actually fight Jafar. I mean, granted, you just beat him up in the stomach and you're twisting, you're making him spin around, which is kind of sucks because he's like an all-powerful genie, and spinning around by his tail and make him dizzy, kind of lame. But it's much better than just beating up Iago. Like really, it's much better than beating up Iago. I would say that. Like, thank God. But those are the two main bosses that stuck out for me, other than the organization battles, because some of the organization battles were pretty inventive. Like Luxord's battle, you got pretty much duel him in a game of cards that you can easily mess up. You got like it's like got Saix. Saix is actually one of my more favorite fights. So this is actually the easiest organization fights because you can just glide all over his moves though. It's different because like all he does is just smash you down. You can grab his claymore and with the QTE with the reaction command just hit him back. But there's that. Oh man, some of these fights are great. Some of his fights are just great. Like, really. But my main problem is, like, Demyx's fight. I hate fighting Demyx, dude. Like, his base form is manageable, but when you fight him, like, this data fight, and you're forced to use Wisdom form, and you're forced to use a bunch of ethers, and you're forced to use fire the entire time to knock him down, it's really stressful. Really, really stressful. That battle is so stressful. It doesn't have to be that way, you know? I hate fighting data Demyx because it's so bad. But the fight itself ain't bad, but, like, it's stressful as hell. And, you know, sometimes you may say, you know, stressful fights are good, but I don't know, man. Like, you could easily lose that fight just by running out of ethers. You gotta play on everything, and Demyx can still kill you. Forget you're on it. And on top of that, he summons all his clones, and you're stuck on a goddamn time limit. Like, you're on a time limit with this stuff, you know? So, it's really, really, really bad. And I kind of wish it didn't end up like that, you know? I kind of wish it really didn't end up like that. It's annoying as hell. I don't like Demyx's fight all that much. But there's that. There's that. Yeah, I think that's it of Kingdom Hearts 2. So I'm gonna see y'all next time. See y'all next time for the KH 358 video I gotta talk about. And that's gonna be a while because I gotta, like, rewatch it again just to get all the plot points in order. And I will see you all next time.